A lot of people think woodworking projects fail because they need better tools, more experience, or a bigger workshop. But sometimes the problem starts before the first piece of wood is ever cut. Imagine this. It's Saturday morning. You finally have a few hours free. Your garage is organized, your tools are ready, and the smell of fresh-cut lumber is filling the air. You open the woodworking plan you downloaded, measure the first board, and make your first cut. Then you stop. The measurements don't line up. The diagram shows one thing. The instructions explain another. And suddenly that expensive piece of lumber you bought might already be ruined. And the worst part? You start wondering if the problem was you. But what if the real problem was never your skill? What if the biggest challenge in woodworking today isn't building the project, but finding instructions that were actually designed to help you finish it? For many hobby woodworkers, the dream is simple. Build a dining table for the family. Create a custom workbench for garage. Make furniture instead of buying expensive store versions. Woodworking is not just about the finished piece. It's about the process of creating something with your own hands. But there's a problem that many beginners and even experienced builders run into. The internet is filled with woodworking plans. Some are free. Some cost money. Some look professional. But appearance does not always mean usability. A plan can have beautiful pictures and still leave out the information that matters most when you are standing in your workshop with a saw in your hand. Things like exact measurements, the correct assembly order, the materials you actually need, the small details that determine whether a project comes together smoothly or becomes another unfinished piece sitting in the corner of the garage. And after years of seeing how people approach woodworking, one thing becomes clear. The quality of the plan often determines the quality of the experience. Most people assume woodworking failures come from a lack of ability. They think, I'm not experienced enough. I need better tools. I'm just not good at this. But many times that conclusion is completely wrong. The real problem is what I call the information gap. The difference between a plan that shows you what something looks like and a plan that actually teaches you how to build it. Because there's a huge difference. A picture of a finished cabinet does not tell you how to create the joints. A basic sketch does not explain the order of assembly. A short materials list does not prevent you from making expensive mistakes. And this is where many woodworkers get stuck. They have the motivation. They have the tools. They have the desire to build. But they are working from incomplete information. That creates frustration. Because woodworking requires precision. A small mistake early in the project can create problems later. A measurement that is slightly wrong can affect the entire structure. A missing step can leave you trying to figure out what the original designer intended. And after enough experiences like that, many people simply stop starting projects. Not because they don't enjoy woodworking, because they are tired of fighting the process. One of the most common approaches is buying individual plans whenever inspiration strikes. You see a beautiful outdoor bench. You purchase the plan. A few weeks later, you find another project. You buy another plan, then another. At first, it seems logical. You only pay for what you need. But over time, something interesting happens. You collect plans instead of completing projects. And the reason is simple. Every plan comes from a different source, different formats, different levels of detail, different assumptions about your tools and experience. One plan might explain every step clearly. Another might assume you already know advanced techniques. Another might leave out important information completely. The frustrating part is that you usually discover these problems after you have already invested your time, money, and materials. Imagine spending your Saturday preparing a project. You drive to the lumber store. You buy everything listed. You return home ready to build. Then halfway through, you realize the instructions skipped an important step. Now you are searching online, trying to find answers. Your workshop time turns into research time. Your project stops being enjoyable. And eventually you begin asking yourself, maybe woodworking just isn't for me. But that conclusion ignores the real issue. The process failed because the information was incomplete, not because the builder was incapable. After seeing this problem repeatedly, a different approach started to make sense. Instead of collecting random plans from different sources, what if woodworking plans were created like a complete library? a place where projects follow consistent standards, where plans were created by people who actually built the projects first. That idea is what led to TedsWoodworking. The principle behind it is simple. A woodworking plan should not just show the final result. It should guide someone from the first piece of lumber to the finished project. The collection was created around that idea. The plans include detailed instructions, drawings, materials lists, and cutting information designed to remove guesswork. Instead of searching through thousands of unrelated files, the library organizes projects by categories and difficulty levels. So whether someone is looking for furniture, outdoor projects, storage solutions, workshop builds, or smaller crafts, they can find projects based on what they actually want to create. The difference is not just the number of plans. The difference is having a structured system. A beginner can find simpler projects. An experienced woodworker can explore more challenging builds. Someone with a smaller garage can choose projects that fit their space. Someone with a full workshop can take on more advanced designs. The biggest question people naturally have is, what exactly is included? The core of TedsWoodworking is access to a large library of woodworking plans. According to the information provided, the collection includes more than 16,000 projects covering different categories: furniture, outdoor projects, workshop equipment, storage solutions, home decor, kitchen projects, animal and pet structures, and many others. Each plan is designed to include the information needed to complete the project: step-by-step instructions, detailed drawings, materials lists, cutting diagrams, and organized project information. The system also includes additional resources such as woodworking videos, guides, and a CAD/DWG viewer for modifying plans. Another important part is the ongoing additions. The library continues receiving new plans, allowing members to access additional projects over time. The goal is not simply provide more files. The goal is to create a reference system that helps woodworkers spend more time building and less time searching. So the real question is not, are there thousands of plans? The better question is, would having access to this type of organized resource solve a problem I already have? Because value depends on how someone uses it. For someone who rarely builds anything, a large collection may not matter. But for someone who enjoys woodworking and regularly looks for new projects, having a structured library can remove one of the biggest obstacles: finding reliable instructions. Think about the cost of mistakes, extra trips to the hardware store, buying materials you don't need, starting projects that never get finished. The biggest benefit is not just the number of plans. It is reducing uncertainty, knowing where to start, knowing what materials are required, knowing that the project has been organized before you begin. That confidence changes the entire experience. Woodworking is supposed to be a rewarding process. It should be about creating something meaningful: a piece of furniture, a useful improvement for your home, something you can look at and say, I built that. But the journey becomes much harder when the information you rely on creates more questions than answers. A good plan does not replace skill. It supports skill. It gives you a clearer path to use the abilities you already have. And sometimes the difference between an unfinished project and a completed one is not more motivation. It is simply having better guidance. If you want to see the resource I use to explore woodworking projects and plans, I left a link in the description. Let me know in the comments. What is the first woodworking project you would build if you had the perfect plan in front of you? And if you enjoy practical woodworking content like this, consider subscribing for more educational videos.